Hello, it's Phillip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. And today I'm looking at a book about mediation, and this is the specialist area of mediation called Family Mediation. The book I'm looking at is now a fourth edition. It's this book here. It's been written by Lisa Parkinson, who is a very experienced mediator for family matters. Elizabeth was the lead writer for this particular review, and the title of our review is "If Mediation Becomes the New Justice System, Is It Goodbye Lawyers? Hello Mediators." Now that may sound a bit flippant, but it isn't meant to be, because clearly with all of the problems we've been having within the civil justice and the family justice systems, we are looking at the moment at a very extended use of mediation, which of course is government policy. It's the Ministry of Justice policy. Let's just have a quick look at the book first of all. It's a cover there we go. There is the spine. You probably can't make too much out. The lighting isn't too good this evening for me. As I say, LexisNexis and Family have produced this book. It's a first-class book. You've got paragraph numbering for the index at the back, and at the front you've got this standard house style, of course. You've got the front page there. You've also got a warning, which I'll just read because I think it's quite important. While every care has been taken to ensure the accuracy of this work, no responsibility for loss or damage occasioned to any person acting or refraining from action as a result of any statement in it can be accepted by the authors, editors or publishers. And the reason they're having to do that now is because people could read these books and say, well, you said it in this book, so therefore it must be right. We don't operate like that, but unfortunately there are some people who think that that may be the case. It isn't. And let me just show you, that's the details of the book itself. Then there are quite a large series of acknowledgements. And what in fact Lisa has done is she's given a fairly good statement about what is in the new edition. She's used some footnotes as well. Then we've got forward to the fourth edition, in addition to that, which is actually written by Professor Neil Robson. And then there's something I rather like, which is for dedicated to mediators everywhere. And I'm a mediator as well as a barrister at law. I did think that was quite good. So do have a read. It's actually written by Glyn Davis. It's worth having a little read. And then you've got a preface. And the preface sets out, it's dated March 2020 from Bristol. And Lisa sets out really where we are going with this particular book. Again, there's some more footnotes at the bottom there. Then you have the contents section. You have quite a lot. You can see there's quite a lot of information in all the chapters. I'm just going to run through those because the total number of chapters is actually 15. It ends up with wider developments in family mediation, and it's looking at other countries. Then you've got a number of appendices at the back, which of course are in this book. Then you've got a very substantial bibliography, and then after that, bibliography, sometimes at the back, but in this case it's actually at the front. And then after the bibliography, we get to the chapters. You can see that the way that it's structured is that there is an index for each chapter, which is quite helpful. You've got the paragraph numbering at the bottom, and as I say, you have no real footnoting in the actual book itself, but you do have quite a substantial mini index for each chapter. And of course, as I say, you have the index at the back, and then you have these substantial numbers of appendices at the back as well, marked, as you can probably see, marked A, which stands of course for appendices. So that's the book. It runs to something approaching 450 pages, something like that. So what do we think of the book? As I indicated, I'm not a family mediator. I'm a general civil and commercial mediator, and a member of both the Society of Mediators and the Civil Mediation Council. But what we're saying is that with the clogging up of the courts post-COVID, not in some but in all basically jurisdictions in England and Wales, the process of mediation is currently being examined or re-examined as a relatively time-saving and perhaps less stressful solution to the resolution of disputes. But is it an entirely suitable or practical means of resolving family disputes? And that's the question. Now, it's not a question I pose because I'm there basically to try to assist the parties. However, it is certainly an issue for quite a large number of clients because they question the need. And of course, some of them do not wish to mediate because they want to have a go at the other side in court. The answer, of course, somewhat unfortunately then, is that there is no final definitive answer. The decision as to whether mediation presents the best way forward in settling a family dispute hovers between certainty and uncertainty. And I have to say as a professional that I can quite often never really advise what will happen because there's always something that's going to perhaps crop up which we may not know about at the time of receiving instructions. That's in the court system. And of course, mediation is designed to get people to open up in the open sessions so that we can try and find out whether we can get a memorandum of agreement. Fortunately then, for those requiring a reliable, accurate and insightful assessment of the current issues impacting on family mediation based on diverse experience and copious research, the LexisNexis team at Family Law have now published this new 4th edition of Family Mediation written by Lisa Parkinson. She's an expert and indeed celebrated practitioner in this field who is well known for her skill in simplifying complex and perplexing issues in a manner that is both readable and riveting. And as Professor Neil Robson points out in his foreword to this excellent book, the government of the United Kingdom retains its professed intention to support mediation despite, lamentably, a conspicuous lack of funding. That's been the problem throughout with all of this. And of course, it does cost the parties quite a lot of money to go to mediation. The result, of course, is a virtually intractable situation, complicated and confounded by the impact of COVID on everything from family finances to mental health. And I have to say, in addition to that, that the difficulties at the moment are with mediation, that we have a very substantial backlog of cases in the courts, and a lot of them have effectively failed the mediation hurdles. So there is only one place they can go, and that will be to a court of law. The book discusses and explains the processes and principles of mediation, very much in line with what I have been trained to do, and the means by which mediation might be judged suitable for families in dispute, which all too often is no easy task, considering the number and complexity of the variables involved. Can I say the same really applies for workplace mediation, because you do need to have additional skills to be able, and you have to pay, of course, a fee to get the qualification, but you do actually need additional vocational skills in order to offer that type of service. And it's likely no exaggeration then to say that this book covers every pertinent aspect of mediation in all its forms and complexities, from conflict management and assessing suitability through to managing imbalances and dealing with deadlocks, and we do get them, of course. And of course there's much more depending on what the issues are between the parties, or of course in mediation terms, participants. Also note that there's a chapter on training and professional development which discusses the question of mediation, science or art. Now, I'm not going to go down that route at all. Mediation is a device as I see it, and it's therefore probably neither a science or an art in that sense. It's basically a skill where you get the parties to think about what the other party wants and to try to see if you can resolve the differences. It doesn't always work, although when they are threatened with the calamity that can be the costs litigation problems, they might actually, quite often the participants come to some sort of order. It's then not surprising that family mediation is now in its 4th edition. It's established itself as the definitive text on this difficult subject and distinguished itself with its readability, its erudition, and certainly the ease of navigation, which I found helpful through the minutely detailed table of contents, That's 27 pages worth right at the front. Then you've got the mini index for each chapter, and of course the back you have a 14-page index, numbered paragraphs throughout as I've indicated, and 8 appendices featuring key documentation. Also, the bibliography, which is at the front of this book, because often it's at the back, is no less than 18 pages long, and that means there's a lot of additional reading. I can say that when I did the mediation course myself, I did quite a lot of additional reading because I found the subject fascinating, and in fact I have been able to use the skills to a limited extent, but a lot of my clients are past the point of no return, alas. Let me conclude by saying this. For lawyers with often conflicting views on mediation, this book is a constructive and enlightened read which provides numerous examples throughout to illustrate that in the final analysis, mediation needs to be placed within the context of the family justice system overall. Now, as I've said, this book is primarily for the mediator. Obviously those going to mediation probably won't find it that much help, but there again they probably will have a relatively narrow approach which we open up with the mediation process. The publication date is cited as at 2021, and I believe it actually appeared sometime in the summer of 2021. I noticed the preface is March 2020, but I think it actually appeared with the pandemic. It's been very difficult to know exactly when these books arrived. Let me just open the book finally and show you something that will be of some help. You do get, for instance, follow-up studies for some of the chapters, because what I did find helpful when I went through this book is this is dealing specifically with children matters, and they give examples of some of the problems that children are facing, and it gives you an indication of how you might approach particular issues with that area of mediation. As I say, I don't want to go any further than just give you a general picture of where we are, but a big thank you to Lisa and a big thank you to Lexis and Family Law for continuing to publish this work. You make our lives so much better when we actually have these books in front of us. So a big thank you. Bye-bye.